Imagine a South Africa where each and every voice matters, where every concern, big or small, can be heard. Well, you don't have to imagine it anymore, because that is exactly what the national dialogue is here to create. Ladies and gentlemen, standing before you is Samuel Mdlalose, the chairperson of the preparatory task team. The South African National Dialogue is designed to be more than just a mere conversation. It's a nation-building process, a platform where South Africans from all walks of life have the opportunity to contribute in shaping the country's future. Its purpose is rooted in recognition that the challenges South Africa faces today, such as inequality, poverty, unemployment, and gender-based violence, cannot be resolved by the government alone. They require collective wisdom, shared responsibility, and most importantly, participation of all sectors of society. The dialogue seeks to transform differences into strength by bringing together civil society, stakeholders, and ordinary citizens to find common ground. Through this process, the nation can move beyond fragmented debates and create a unified vision for the future. Over the past decades of democracy, South Africa has made remarkable achievements. We have achieved political freedom, built democratic institutions, expanded access to housing, healthcare, and education. And yet, despite these achievements, formidable challenges remain. Too many South Africans still live in poverty, and unemployment continues to strive. The dialogue recognizes both our progress and our unfinished journey. It's about ensuring that the next 30 years are not just about survival, but about creating the South Africa we all desire, a country that is inclusive, prosperous, just, and united. But to bring this vision to life, it requires diverse voices. And that is why I am surrounded by a team of extraordinary leaders who will each shed light on key areas that will move our nation closer to the South Africa we all want. First, Olwethu Duma, a former justice of the Constitutional Court of South Africa. She will share her plans on how we can expand social grants, support small-scale farmers, and strengthen education and skills development. Next, Unathi Mangena, captain of the national rugby team. She is going to talk about one of the most important pillars of our country's progress, social cohesion and nation building. Next, Akile Mangena, Miss South Africa 2024. She is going to talk about one of the most urgent issues affecting South Africa, gender-based violence and safety of our communities. This issue affects schools, workplaces, and the very fabric of our nation. She is going to shed light on the realities we face and explore ways to create a South Africa that is more equal and united. Next, our final speaker, Asemahle Ngcobo, the chairperson of the steering committee. She is going to reflect on the progress made and outline the way forward as we move to a more equal and safer South Africa. I will now hand over to Olwethu Duma.
Inequality is a concept that one becomes very familiar with at a very young age. A few have a lot have almost nothing. And when you are born poor, you will almost certainly die poor. And because of that, generations after generations live trapped in the same vicious cycle fed by prejudice. And the inaction systemic change often begins from bottom up rather than top down. The government needs to take responsibility, and we should all put as much pressure as we can. And rest of all, the civil society also needs to do their part. Ladies and gentlemen, standing before you is none other than the Honorable Olwethu Duma, former judge of the Constitutional Court of South Africa. Good governance is the only solution to eradicate poverty and hunger in Africa. The rule of law needs to be delivered. Clear judiciary help create the environment to deliver education and also the management of public finances, resources, and also human development. And as a sentinel of our Constitution, I have come up with several solutions to overcome these tribulations. We need to help farmers become more productive by making the existing land more productive. Connect small-scale farmers with the tools they need to maintain sustainable agriculture for the country's food security. When farmers are more productive, they earn more income. They climb up the ladder of poverty and they help feed their communities. Furthermore, all school fees should be scraped from primary up to university. Education must be completely free. This will be aimed at empowering the youth and ensuring that no financial barriers will ever stand in the way of educational access and advancement. The Gini coefficient stands at 0.63, making South Africa one of the most unequal countries in the world. My fellow South Africans, let us remember that our Constitution, Section 27, 1B of our Constitution, guarantees us the right to have access to sufficient food and water, while Section 9.1 ensures equality before the law. Well, I am very concerned about the absence of the Chief Albert Luthuli Foundation, along with other legacy foundations in the National Dialogue, because it shows that the National Dialogue has lost its value. It's just making more noise, and it doesn't even involve the youth. And in my opinion, that's just being inconsiderate. In conclusion, my fellow South Africans, let us join our hands to break the chain of poverty, shatter the walls of inequality, and fill the bellies of the hungry. Together, we can create a world where everyone has a chance to thrive. Let us let justice and compassion guide us forward. Thank you. I will now hand over to our third speaker.
My fellow South Africans, today we stand at the forefront of a new era where our differences is the foundation of our strength and not the cause of our weakness. We gather here united in our diversity to forge a path towards a brighter future. Ladies and gentlemen, standing before you is Unathi Mangena, the captain of the national rugby team. We've all seen how South Africa has faced numerous challenges: unemployment, inequality, social injustice. But I say to you, these challenges are insurmountable. There are opportunities for us to come together, united in pursuing one common goal. To achieve this goal, I, as the captain of the national rugby team, who hasn't won once but twice, will implement community engagement, where we'll teach people, where we'll have activities and events, cultures, where people come together and unite, and also teach about education and awareness, to teach about diversity, inclusivity, and social responsibility. I'll also be implementing in capacity building, where I'll invest in businesses, entrepreneurship, job creations, stimulating economic growth. As Nelson Mandela once said, the glory of living lies in never failing, but in rising every time we fall. Imagine a South Africa where every citizen has equal right to education, employment, economic growth, where our children can grow up to be leaders, innovators, game changers. My fellow South African, the country is ours to shape. Let's choose to be a generation that is just and prosperous. Let us choose to be brighter than the stars. Come, let us come together, united, in forging a greater path. My fellow South Africans, let us choose the upcoming years like 2030 to be developed years and not developing years. The time for action is over. The time for words is now. I'll now be handing it over to my speaker, Akile Mangena. As Miss South Africa 2024, I will create a safe haven where women, men, and all individuals can live without a shadow of violence, where their rights are reserved and their dignity is untouchable. I am Miss South Africa 2024. My name is Akile Mangena, and we gather here to talk about this critical topic of gender-based violence and safety. It is important to emphasize that this journey is not about achieving a milestone, but is about sustaining a culture of respect, empathy, and understanding. As Miss South Africa, I will support services that establish support for survivors, including hotlines, shelters, and counseling. I will also create a safe space program where people can find help during violence. Because had Ms. Bonge Gangwele from KZN got access to such resources, she would have reported her first domestic attack and avoided having her eyes gouged out by her own partner. I will also spread public awareness and women empowerment. I'll create initiatives that give girls and women economic independence and access to resources. Because a woman who's financially independent has a brighter future. I will also strengthen legal reforms and assess national policies, making sure that everyone in South Africa knows the rights of a woman. I'll also put pressure on the civil government to introduce social studies into every curriculum of a learner, because when a learner knows that the role of a woman is to be the foundation that holds the pillar up. I will also be working with the South African Deaf Association in incorporating sign language studies into the justice system, where officers, judges, lawyers, advocates will receive training in order to be able to assess the disabled and the deaf. Mr. Martin King Luther Jr. once said, "Nonviolence is the highest ethic of all evolution. Until we stop harming other living beings, we are still savages." Ladies and gentlemen, this statement shows us how we as South Africans need to come together in abolishing GBV and prioritizing our safety, making sure justice is served. A perfect and relevant example is the Miss Kwekwe case. After a majority of people knew about her case, awareness was spread, marches were walked, petitions were signed. Ladies, we need the same type of energy and effort to be put into abolishing GBV. 13,453 sexual offenses were recorded between January and March 2025. South Africa is ranked as the 5th most dangerous country for anyone to live in 2025. These staggering statistics show how we as South Africans need to come together, make sure that our society is safe. Ladies and gentlemen, let us champion the idea of gender equality. Let us make South Africa a shining example for Africa and the world to see. This is my vision for year 2030. I will now hand over to speaker number 5. Thank you.
Citizens, alone we just a single note, but together we are the symphony of strength, resilience, and the very fabric of triumph that is revealed, like a thunderclap that shatters the silence. Where unity ignites the spark of possibility, and as we stand together, our hearts beating as one, the horizon of achievement stands out before us like an endless canvas waiting to be splashed with the vibrant colors of our collective genius. Ladies and gentlemen, before you is Asema Hlengobo, the chairperson of the steering committee, a group that provides strategic directions and high-level support for projects or initiative steering towards achieving the organization's overall goal. And as the chairperson of the steering committee, I'm excited to announce that we are launching our plan. We will end poverty, inequality, and hunger by providing funding and infrastructure for school gardens, community gardens, and community centers that are rooting for zero hunger. We will also increase the internet access to all schools to build capacity, and we also provide research and data for programs or initiatives that are addressing the same issue. And we will also improve roads and infrastructure in rural areas and in some urban areas that are less developed. And the government can just help by giving grant to agribusinesses, and we believe that will help increase the rates of employed people, tax, equality, and end poverty. For social cohesion and national building, we will help build strong communities and work together with different groups that deal with disabled people, making sure that they get the quality education just like everyone else, and making sure that they're emotionally trained by qualified social workers. And will also create a program where each and every citizen will be taught his or her constitutional rights and responsibilities, and also create a holiday where we will be celebrating unity. And we believe that will promote unity and cohesion in our nation. And last but not least, GBV, gender-based violence and safety. GBV is not just a woman's issue, but it's a human's issue, and it's time for humanity to act. We will create policies that support organizations working on this issue, advocating for change where neither male, female, LGBTQA+, a couple neither married or not, will be sharing the best practices on how to act as a husband, a wife, a mother, a father, or just a great non-violated partner. And obviously, we'll be having qualified social workers, therapists, and psychologists that will be helping with communications and counseling sessions for ones in need. And some of you may be asking themselves, what about those who have already experienced gender-based violence? Well, we will create a program where we will be having qualified health workers that will help you to get over the situation, the trauma, to heal and to move on with life. And for safety, we will make sure that each and every community has the police officers working along with the forum gang, making sure that everyone in the community feels safe and being the voices of the voiceless. And we believe that will help organizations develop effective ways to prevent and to respond to gender-based violence and safety. And as I'm about to leave the stage with my teammates, I just want you to know that it's time to redefine our story. So let us rewrite the narrative and forge a new path together. Eastern Cape, Gauteng, Mpumalanga, Limpopo, Free State, Northern Cape, Western Cape, Northwest, Kwazulu Natal, fellow South Africans, I am here.
Futhi, Gikon, Gihafa, Giteng.
Ek is here.
We are here to foster a united South Africa.
So go.